And at number 10, Kitty Pryde. Kitty, or Catherine Pryde as she prefers to be called these days, has really glowed up. She was the leader of the X-Men for a while too, and spent time in space with the Guardians of the Galaxy. While that doesn't amount to intelligence per se, she is a character who has gathered a whole lot of knowledge and experience over the years, and has become a bit of a tactical mastermind. Pryde has also shown the ability to assimilate knowledge at a rapid pace, having picked up skills from her training with Wolverine at a young age. Plus, she's an expert in computer science, which definitely comes in handy when she's not phasing through technology to destroy it. Moving on to number 9, Sage. Sage first hit the scene in 2001's The X-Men Volume 2, Issue 109. She is a mutant with the ability to jumpstart other mutants' powers. She's a telepath, and most importantly, she has superhuman mental processing abilities that include having a perfect memory and data analysis. That definitely must come in handy. The best way to put it is that Sage's mind functions like a computer's CPU does. Her mind can cross-examine, analyze, and even store information, with the ability to play back events as if they were a film, recreating them in her brain. She also clearly has a photographic memory, and has been likened in terms of abilities to Taskmaster, which is pretty nifty. Moving on to our number 8 spot, Cypher. Cypher is Douglas Aaron Ramsey, a character who first debuted in New Mutants issue 13 back in 1984. His powers allow him to gain a vast amount of knowledge. He is able to intuitively translate any language he comes into contact with. This includes written language, spoken language, computer languages, or body languages. He's an expert when it comes to subtext, let's just say that. This helps him decipher codes and understand subtext in a way that a regular human being couldn't even imagine being able to do. He never has to problem solve consciously. Rather, it's all subconscious for him, coming up with the correct solution to said problem that may seem like it's doing a couple leaps of logic, but is correct nonetheless. He's also an expert in translating and designing computer software, and is capable of hacking some of the most protected computers on the globe.
Coming in at number 7, we have Amadeus Cho. More well known as the totally awesome Hulk, Amadeus was actually incredibly noteworthy in the Marvel Universe years before he ever got infected with gamma radiation, as he was born with super genius intellect and his brain essentially acting like an incredible supercomputer, capable of performing multiple complex calculations at the same time without ever appearing overwhelmed. Because of the hyperspeed of his own brain, Amadeus is also incredibly fast at learning, a skill that came in handy once he was the Earth's primary Hulk for a time and had to learn how to control his new gamma form fast. Coming in at number 6, we have Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man. As one of the founding members of the Avengers due to the use of his size-changing technology known as Pym particles, Hank has long been seen publicly as one of the world's most impressive scientists. However, Hank's intellect hasn't just been used for size-changing technology, as he's also the mastermind behind the creation of the evil artificial intelligence known as Ultron. And while Ultron is one of the most terrifying villains in the Marvel Universe that the rest of the Avengers definitely wish Hank hadn't been smart enough to make, the fact that he was able to create an entirely new intelligence means that Hank is perhaps a little bit too smart for his own good. Coming in at number 5, we have Bruce Banner, aka the Incredible Hulk. Bruce Banner's scientific cred and reputation might have been tainted just a little bit by all the destruction caused by his own transformation into the Hulk, but at the end of the day, he's still an incredibly talented and genius-level scientist. Knowing more about gamma radiation than nearly anyone else on the planet, given his own incredibly up-close experiences with the substance, Bruce Banner got his PhD in nuclear physics with the intent of helping as many people as possible, only working with the United States Defense Department because no one else was hiring at the time. Nevertheless, Bruce still tries to use his scientific mind to help people even to this day, even if that help is by further trying to understand the many mysteries surrounding the Incredible Hulk. Coming in at number 4, we have the one and only Tony Stark. That's right, it turns out that the man who built a high-tech suit of armor in a cave with a box of scraps is a pretty smart guy. Graduating from MIT at the age of 17, Tony is an Avenger without any actual superpowers or enhancements. He's just an incredibly smart dude in a suit of armor, and even more importantly, is capable of using that intelligence in surprising and unorthodox ways, often capable of outwitting his opponents both in the moment and with literal years of advanced planning, given Tony's passion for futurism. Tony is said to be so smart that he claims to already know how most conversations are going to go before he's even had them, meaning that if you surprise Iron Man, you might just be able to surprise anyone.
Up next in our number 3 spot, Kid Omega. Kid Omega, aka Quentin Quire, may be an Omega level telepath, but he has also got a genius level intellect too. He possesses advanced cognitive and telepathic abilities that allow him to organize and construct his thoughts at accelerated rates. According to the official handbook of the Marvel Universe A to Z, issue 6, Quentin possesses a brilliant mind that rivals some of the smartest people on the planet. And according to him, he thinks 10 million brilliant thoughts per second, but maybe he's just being a little cocky on that front. Although, we highly doubt that he doesn't. In at number 2, we have Charles Xavier. This one seems like a given, right? Charles Xavier, aka Professor X, has always been hailed as one of the brightest minds in the Marvel Universe. He is a literal super genius. Coming from a privileged childhood and having attended Oxford, he has multiple doctorates. He is a world-renowned geneticist, an expert in mutation, has considerable knowledge in various life sciences, and invented Cerebro. He also has a PhD in genetics, one in biophysics, another in psychology, and another in anthropology, and an MD in psychiatry. He's also a brilliant tactician and strategist, if his time at the X-Men has shown us anything. And that's not even tapping into his potential with what he can do with his powers either. It's quite the impressive resume. Also, where does one have that much time to get 4 PhDs? Gotta be a super genius. And last but not least, in our number 1 spot, Beast. Beast, aka Hank McCoy, is often one of the first individuals we think of when we consider intelligent mutants. And that's because we've seen just how useful Beast's knowledge and experience can be, with his scientific strides generally making massive impacts on the narratives of the X-Men and even the Marvel Universe as a whole. He's often Charles Xavier's go-to guy when there's a problem that needs to be solved. Great minds think alike, 2 brains are better than 1, you know? Now for starters, Beast has a genius level intellect, if that wasn't already blatantly obvious. He's a world-renowned biochemist, has earned PhDs in biophysics and genetics, and he is the individual responsible for creating a cure for the legacy virus. That is huge. His expertise in genetics rivals that of Xavier's, Moira's, and more. And he has vast knowledge in a bunch of different fields. This includes theoretical physics, quantum mechanics, differential equations, I don't even know what that is, nanotechnology, anatomy, biomedicine, analytical chemistry, electrical engineering, and mechanical engineering. He has built a time travel device, a machine that separates evolutionaries from cosmic rays. He's hacked Bruce Banner's computer, and he is able to recall complex mathematical and chemical formulas without any research. He can also quote historical and literary texts from memory too, so he's a well-rounded fellow, ladies. And he is an accomplished musician to boot. Plus, his accolades are pretty impressive. He's won a Nobel Prize and is a 9-time recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So yeah, dude is hella smart.
Number 10, Colleen Wing. Colleen Wing worked with Misty Knight as her partner at their private investigations office, Nightwing Restorations Limited. Both women proved to be skilled trackers, investigators, and martial artists during their cases where they mostly focused on missing persons. Iron Fist would also join up with them from time to time, but it was as a result of these 2 talented women working together and due to their incredible martial arts skills that they were given the name the Daughters of the Dragon. They would even go on to have their own comic series under that name in the early 2000s, which actually came back again for another limited run in 2018. Number 9, Misty Knight. Misty Knight was originally a police officer with the NYPD, graduating with honors from the police academy. She was a lieutenant when she lost her arm in an explosion. Tony Stark ended up building her a bionic arm, but she was still resigned to work a desk job due to her disability. This eventually drove Misty to leave the NYPD and form her own PI business with her friend Colleen Wing, which we previously discussed was called Nightwing Restorations. This wouldn't be all the investigative work Colleen and Misty would get up to though. They would also go on to work together as bail bondsmen, loaning those awaiting trial bail money, but tracking them down if they refused to show up in court on their trial date. Number 8, Elongated Man. Elongated Man proved his mettle as a brilliant mind during the events of Identity Crisis. While he may have not necessarily had the right culprit in mind in regards to the murder of his wife Sue Dibney originally, he proved throughout the series with his investigative skills and deductive reasoning to be one of the greatest detective minds DC has. In fact, it was his early work as a detective in the first place that gained him recognition from the Justice League and helped him to earn his spot on the team.
Moving on to number 7, Forge. Now we're getting into mutants who innately have a genius level intellect. Forge, who first debuted in 1984's Uncanny X-Men issue 184, is one of those mutants. He also possesses a superhuman intuitive talent at inventing, and has various mystical abilities, and is a skilled marksman to boot. His knack for invention, specifically mechanical devices, is thanks to his ability to visually perceive mechanical energy in action, so he can recognize the potential and functional uses of any machine or piece of technology within his visual range. Combine that with his genius-level intellect, and he can conceive, design, and build highly advanced machinery and devices, and then operate them, modify them, and disassemble them or existing technology to create countermeasures for it. Moving on to number 6, Magneto. Magneto possesses one of the most innovative minds in the history of mutant kind. His intelligence combined with his Omega-level mastery over magnetism is what makes him so deadly at times. You know that old saying that an idea can be the most dangerous thing in the world? Well, Magneto epitomizes that saying to a T. Aside from his ideologies and charisma, Eric is a genius in the fields of advanced science, genetic manipulation, particle physics, engineering, and other fields of technology. He has engineered advanced weaponry, space stations, superpowered humanoid life forms, devices that generate natural disasters, the likes of volcanoes, devices like his helmet that block psionic attacks, and devices capable of nullifying mutant abilities. He's even bioengineered new species, including the Savage Land mutants. Yeah, talk about some major smarts there. In at 5, Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister, aka Nathaniel Essex, is technically a genetically altered human being, but he is also a super genius, and thanks to his own genetic manipulation, has effectively turned himself into a mutant. A scientific genius with expertise in the fields of biology, genetics, cloning, physics, and engineering, he's definitely given the X-Men a run for their money on many occasions. It also helps that he's a master manipulator, capable of controlling his body at the cellular level too. So all in all, dude is a pretty persuasive guy, both physically and mentally. Moving on to number 4, Moira McTaggart. First appearing in the Uncanny X-Men issue 96 in 1975, Moira McTaggart was long believed to be a human. But thanks to revelations in House of X, we now know that Moira is in fact a mutant too, and has the experience of 10 lives under her belt. So she has limited reality warping reincarnation powers, a perfect memory, and is completely invisible with her true nature as far as other mutants are concerned. The X gene is not visible to her. She has lived 10 lives, and she possesses great intelligence and experience in the fields of genetics and mutation. Every time she is reincarnated after death, she maintains all of the memories and knowledge that she gained from her previous lifetimes in utero. So yeah, that has definitely got to come in handy. Gives new meaning to experience equals knowledge, doesn't it?
Number 3, John Constantine. Well, John Constantine might not be the kind of detective you think of first when you think of the smartest, with him being, well, not as put together as some of the other detectives on this list. When it comes to manipulating people or demons, there is likely no one smarter than Constantine. John Constantine remains one of the trickiest characters around when it comes to talking demons into doing just what he wants, usually without them even realizing they are being fooled and falling right into Constantine's traps. He's basically the Odysseus of occult detectives. Many might fixate on his magical abilities, but his tongue is probably one of the most dangerous weapons that he wields. Hey, don't you go there. Number 2, Detective Chimp. Bobo T. Chimpanzee is Detective Chimp, one of the best detectives in the world, despite being a chimp. Detective Chimp is often dressed as Sherlock Holmes and made his first comic book appearance in Adventures of Rex the Wonder Dog, issue 4 in 1952. Why a chimp for one of the most brilliant minds? Well, this is likely because back in the day, covers and stories featuring apes sold really well, which is why we have so many capable ape and monkey characters in comics today. Detective Chimp has solved all sorts of challenging mysteries and was considered to be the best detective in the world by Dr. Fate. He is a highly intelligent chimpanzee who is capable of communicating with various species and whose intellect has been classified as greater than 98% of the Earth's human population. Wow. Number 1, Batman. We can't have a smartest detective list without including Batman on it, of course. Batman is the comic book detective. Despite just being a man in a bat suit, he has one of the most brilliant and most skilled minds on the planet. He is a master detective, and while Detective Chimp was ruled as the best detective by Dr. Fate and potentially the world of magic, I guess, it doesn't necessarily mean that Chimp is smarter than Batman, or even that Dr. Fate was right. After all, magic doesn't know everything. Even when you think Batman maybe isn't the greatest detective, he proves you wrong. Like in Batman R.I.P., when it seemed that he had fallen prey to the Black Glove's trap, he actually hadn't. The Black Glove thought that they had eliminated him, but he dug out of his own grave and returned to prove them wrong, revealing that actually they had fallen prey to his plot, as he had known about their plans and Jezebel Jet's true allegiance the entire time. What a twist. Even I was shocked.
Coming in at number 10, we've got a bit of an honorable mention with the iconic Thanos. That's right, while he's best known as being a powerful cosmic warlord, Thanos has occasionally fought on the side of good during the Marvel Universe's long history. And contrary to appearances, he actually might be one of the smarter beings in the entire galaxy. Considered a genius even by the standards of the incredibly advanced Eternals, Thanos' intellect is the only reason he's been able to come up with so many universe-spanning plans over the years, and has led to his ability to teleport, fly, and technically even led to the infamous Thanos Copter. And while he more often fights the Avengers than not, he's still had to be consulted a few times by them when it comes to cosmic threats that outweigh even the power of Thanos. Coming in at number 9, we have Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. Peter may be best known for spinning webs of any size and catching thieves just like flies, but one of his greatest superpowers might just be his mind. Even before being bitten by a radioactive spider, Peter Parker was a high school genius, and is the mastermind behind all of his own technology such as spider bots, spider trackers, and even the web fluid and canisters that allow him to swing around New York. While he might often be overlooked by the rest of the genius level Avengers, we all know that Spider-Man is an incredibly brilliant hero for the people of Manhattan.
Number 7. Abe Sapien. Although there are many times in the Hellboy comics that Abe has been somewhat hesitant to face the outside world and intimidated by an impending sense of doom, which has seemed to haunt him since early on in his career as a BPRD field agent, he still often manages to press on, proving to be an invaluable investigator. In fact, there are many cases that likely would not have even been solved without his help, including the one later that would echo with a foreshadow of his death. The Cavendish Hall affair. After surviving the death that was foretold as a result of that investigation, he would be faced with one of the greatest mysteries of his life, his forgotten past and origins, which he would in turn manage to solve. Number 6. Jessica Jones. Jessica Jones wasn't always known as a capable PI. She originally was the costumed hero Jewel, but after a run-in with Purple Man, she decided to retire from the superhero life and put her skills to good, searching for justice in another way by becoming a private detective. Although she returned to the hero life briefly as the vigilante Nitress before starting her own agency, her time as Nitress was basically just a little bump in the road. And honestly, thank goodness for that, because Jessica Jones as a detective is a much more compelling story in my opinion, and she's a pretty great investigator. It's thanks to the series Alias that we know Jessica as more of a PI than a direct superhero. That and her Netflix series helped to paint the picture of Jessica as a hardened hero who is somewhat lost, but equally determined to fight for the justice and protection of innocent people on her own terms. Number 4. Velma Dinkley. That's right, the famed brilliant Velma of Scooby-Doo. You might be thinking, but wait a minute, Scooby-Doo is a cartoon, not a comic, Amanda. But if you are, you might be surprised to find out that you're kind of wrong. Scooby-Doo is actually both a cartoon and a comic series. In fact, they have multiple comic series about the Scooby Gang. And guess who is making Scooby comics right now? DC, which means DC really does have an amazing wheelhouse of brilliant detectives on their hero roster, especially with Velma included. Velma is usually the brains behind all of the Scooby Gang's solved cases. She's usually the one who helps to piece all the clues together and solve the mystery. So while she can't do it without the rest of her friends and teammates, she definitely stands out as the brightest member of the team.
Coming in at number 3, we have Lunella Lafayette, aka Moon Girl. A young inhuman superhero with the ability to swap minds with the gigantic devil dinosaur whenever she feels a particularly strong emotion, Lunella is also one of the smartest human beings in the entire Marvel universe, and if it wasn't for the top spot on this list, would definitely be the youngest. Capable of solving a puzzle box that even its creator, Bruce Banner, was unable to, Lunella is already an accomplished computer hacker, engineer, and inventor at the age of 9, programming algorithms that even briefly confused Tony Stark. And with all of this mental power at such a young age, who knows just how smart Lunella Lafayette will become in the future. Coming in at number 2, we have Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic. The leader of the Fantastic Four and one of the very first superheroes in the Marvel Universe, Reed Richards has always been a complete genius. Heck, by the time he turned 18, he'd already earned 4 scientific degrees from multiple highly respected universities. Reed's intelligence would only become more important as the Fantastic Four grew in fame and had to deal with larger and larger threats, with the team often having to rely on Reed's inventions to help save the day or strengthen their own powers. In recent years, Reed has even helped his reality-changing son Franklin design new universes for the multiverse, and often collaborates with his own multiversal Council of Reeds to solve problems too big for just his brain alone to handle. And finally, coming in at our top spot, we have the one person who can outthink Reed Richards, and it just so happens to be his daughter, Valeria Richards. Conceived by Reed and his wife Sue Storm during an adventure within the Negative Zone, this led to unexpected consequences for both the baby and her mother, with bursts of cosmic radiation endangering everyone nearby. The only one who was able to safely deliver the child wound up ironically being Victor Von Doom, the archenemy of her father, and the one that gave her the name of Valeria after his own lost love. Kind of an awkward move there, Doom. Valeria has a greatly increased intelligence due to the cosmic radiation her parents endured, and it's already claimed that she's surpassed her own father's intellect, and has to hide her true level of intelligence to prevent her from becoming a target to cosmic supervillains. And considering Valeria is this smart while still just being a kid, who knows how powerful Valeria Richards will grow up to become.